Okay, so again, welcome to the Vault Professional webcast. My name is Eric Miller. I'm the Technical Resources Manager here at Applied Engineering. If you're not familiar with Applied Engineering, we're a IT and engineering consulting company. We're also an Autodesk reseller. So today, hopefully you're looking to learn a little bit more about Vault. I'm assuming we've got some people in the audience that maybe are interested in Vault but aren't using it. I'm assuming there's probably some people that are companies that are currently using maybe Vault Basic, maybe Vault Workgroup, maybe Vault Professional, and just want to learn a little bit more about it. So hopefully we'll spend about a half hour today with this session. I'm going to try to go through some of the key features within Vault, and I guess if you have any questions, you are in listen-only mode right now, so but feel free to enter in a question. Hopefully I'll have some time towards the end of the webcast here today to address those if you do have any. If we run out of time, feel free to email me or give me a call. I'll give my information here towards the end of the webcast if you need to get a hold of me later. So with that, let's take a look at the agenda for today. And so some of the things, obviously if you're new to Vault, I want to just kind of touch on some of the really basic features as far as searching. You know, one of the advantages of Vault is when we check in files, it can take in those properties from your files, can be mapped into Vault. We can search on those, obviously much easier than some you know, storing data in a Windows scenario. So so hopefully that'll kind of provide some benefit there. The copy design function is a very useful one as well. It allows you to take an existing, actually not only just one assembly, but maybe multiple assemblies at once, copy the files into new assemblies, maybe reuse some of the parts, exclude some of them. You know, so that can be definitely a handy feature. We've actually got customers that install Vault even just for one person, so they can use the copy design function. One of the things we don't get into a lot, and I know a lot of our customers, primarily, obviously, Vault is a data management tool. It's Autodesk's data management tool. It's built to integrate with Inventor, with AutoCAD, with Revit, with a lot of these other products that Autodesk provides. But I know a lot of our customers use it primarily for file management. But there is the BOM side, and we don't, we touch on a little bit when we look at implementing Vault at a customer site, but it's one of those things that it may be worth looking into. I'm assuming a lot of companies already have an ERP system. They have maybe Excel spreadsheets that they use to manage bill of materials, or whatever other system. But Vault can be a very useful tool for that. And I'll try to highlight, some of the advantages with using using Vault Professional to manage your bill of materials. So we'll take a look at that. ECOs, engineering change orders. Within Vault Professional, there's a built-in, automatic tool for that to either put files or items onto an ECO, request the change, process the change, have notifications built into the people, the stakeholders that are need to be aware of those changes. So we'll touch on that too a little bit today. And then one of the nice things about Vault Pro is you get access for anybody in your company through a thin client. You're probably aware that Vault Basic is free. That comes with your product design suite. So technically, it's not free. You purchase it. It comes along with Inventor, with AutoCAD. If you purchase those products, so we kind of say it's free, even though obviously there's a price to get in with those products. But you can install that. The software is there. With Vault Professional, there is a license involved, so there's a cost for each seat of Vault Professional. Those are network seats, so they can be shared. They did just come out, Autodesk just came out with subscription licensing for Vault as well, so you can actually borrow a Vault license to a computer now, and that's actually with network licensing as well. But there's a few more options on the subscription side. If you only need to use, maybe you've got a temporary employee for the summer, you want to get a seat of Vault just for 3 months, they allow you to do that now. And like I mentioned, you can now borrow Vault licenses if you're traveling. You'll at least be able to open up Vault. Obviously, the key of Vault is you're connecting with the server. So if you're traveling and not connected to your network, it doesn't necessarily give you all the benefits of being connected, but it does let you at least open up Vault. We use that a lot for training and stuff like that. If we borrow the Vault license, so it can be, if you have the Vault server on the machine, it can be just basically a standalone environment and not have to be connected to the network. And the last thing I want to touch on today is backing up your Vault. It's a real critical part of the whole process here. We're storing data in a central location. I mean, that's all good. You're checking in, checking out files. You're keeping all that file history. But if you're not backing it up and not protecting that and not giving yourself a safety net, it can really come back to bite you. So we've had, unfortunately, throughout the past 5 years or so, maybe 2 to 3 customers, not realize their Vault backup. Something got changed within, the database, or something happened on the server and didn't realize it, and ended up losing some engineering data, which nobody wants to go through that. So definitely a key part of this whole thing is to make sure that data is backed up. And you might think, with backing up the server, I mean, a lot of companies have an IT group or third-party IT that controls that and backs up their entire server environment, but that doesn't always restore as smoothly. Or say you have to install Vault on another machine and then restore it. Having that Vault backup is a real key part of making the restore process really seamless and easy. So definitely keep that in mind. So anyway, with that, I'm going to get into the actual live system here. Bounce out of that. So I've got Vault open. I've got Inventor open. We're actually going to take a look at Excel as well and show how to store other file types with your item. I'll kind of explain that here after a bit, but let's just kind of start with a typical process. Like you get into Vault, the idea is you want to find the files that you want to work on, right? So let's say, for instance, a customer, we build a product that are, let's use an example of, say, a lifting type of design, or a machine design anyway. And our customer says, this is a great product, but we'd be interested in seeing just a little bit more robustness or a little bit more, I guess, leverage on this lifter. So they want us to kind of look into that, see if it's possible, see if we can do that. So our job as the maybe design engineer is to kind of check that out and see if it's possible. So first thing we're going to do is just go try to find the product, the existing product that we're looking at. So within the Find tool here, we can do a couple different search types. So obviously we've got the ability to search for change orders, files, folders, items. Most of the time, I guess in the majority of our customers, we're looking for files. We can just leave it set to any. And then under the advanced, this is really all the different options we've got as far as searching for a specific property. So whether it be system-defined properties, user-defined properties, all those get stored with the file. When they get checked in, they're searchable in Vault. So we want to be able to speed up that process of finding the data that you're looking for. So that's the advanced search, and you can kind of build a search, add multiple items here to it. So let's say, for instance, I'm looking for, I know it's an assembly. Maybe I don't remember the exact name of it, but I can go File Extension Contains IAM. We add that to the search and hit Find Now, and we get a whole bunch of assemblies that I have stored in here. Obviously, you've probably got more than I do. This is kind of my demo machine, so I've got enough data to kind of show what I need to show, but it's definitely not a production environment. So we see those assemblies, and okay, I do think there's part of the word has, maybe I know part of the name of the file. So let's go to name here, contains, and this is it's a spider lifter that we're looking for. So I'm going to add that to it, go Find Now, and then we get down to just the one component that I need and want to review. So this is a spider lifter 3 arm. I can right-click and go to the folder. It's basically like any software these days. When in doubt, right-click. So these are different options that I've got. I can get it. I can check it out. If I want to copy the design right from here or do a change state on it. Right now it's at work in progress. If we want to bump it up to released, that's one of the things you get with Vault Workgroup or Professional is the ability to control your life cycles and also then the revisions. With Vault Basic, it's just the check-in, check-out. So it keeps track of the versions. Every time you check in a file, that's a new version, and it just starts at 1, goes to how many ever you check it in. But when you're talking about kind of a little more control over the designs and who gets to see it. Well, that's all done with revisions, typically starting, either numerical, alphabetical, the ASME standard. That's kind of your formal release of the part. If it's released at revision A, that's what the customer sees, that's what we know went out at that particular time, and then down the road you may eventually decide to change that. We bump it back down to work in progress, and Vault Pro automatically bumps the revision to B then. So now we're working on revision B and eventually going to release that one. So I definitely think it's important to have that kind of control over your data, so you know what parts went out to the customers. Makes it easier for service. Makes it easier for everybody to have that kind of data associated with your files. All right, so let's kind of keep moving on to this. I'm gonna go to the folder here. So I'm gonna right click and I want to see where this thing's stored. So it went to the folder behind the scenes there. Now I've got it selected. I can kind of do some review on it. Check the uses. So the nice thing about Vault 2 is versus a Windows environment is that you've got the ability to see the parents and the children of each of these files. So that's looking at the children underneath here. We've got a couple sub-assemblies, underneath this lifter, and we can check out maybe a preview of it. So this, every time we check in an inventor file, it creates a DWF. All right, so those are basically lightweight viewable files that can be accessed just by anybody. And that's actually when you go out to the thin client, which I'll show eventually. That's what you're actually seeing when you access it through the thin client. You can download the actual file, but for the most part, those are read-only users. It's maybe your sales team, your marketing team, your service team, maybe other people in the manufacturing side, on the factory side. You want them to just be able to see the information, what they need, not necessarily modify it. At least that's the way I like to promote using that thin client. So anyway, with this preview here, though, we can rotate it around, zoom in, zoom out. We've got some abilities to, to do measuring to make sure we're looking at the right file here. Get a measurement on it and that kind of stuff. So, and you can just right-click and open it right into Design Review here. So I do like, even though you can look at this within Vault, I like having Design Review installed on each machine just so you get a few other tools when you open it up into that actual application. And that is just, it's free. It does come with your product design suite, but you can download that for free too for those thin client users to have the application. It's a little more robust than looking at it through the online version of Design Review, which I'll show that as well. All right, so let's say we want to take a look at this and maybe make a change, or maybe we want to move forward with that, making this, you can see this one's got 3 legs here on the lifter. Let's say in order to make this a little bit stronger, a little bit, spread out the weight of whatever we're lifting, we're going to add, we want to make one that's got 4. So with that, let's just kind of start it as a typical change request. With you want to make a new product, we think it's going to enhance it, so we're going to do a change request for that. And the ECO process is really where that starts. So we're going to jump up to the change order. Change order list here. I've got a few that are kind of in progress or already closed. I'm just going to start a new one. And this is really just your online form, or your electronic form, I guess, for starting a change and processing the change. So I'm looking at this now as a change request, and it really kind of does everything. This process here, this is the workflow of the stages that this has to go through in order to complete. So we're creating the request, then it goes to this open stage, which is the change administrator. They're going to say yes or no. They can reject it, or they can, say okay, go ahead. And then it goes into the work stage where the responsible engineer can then start making the changes. And then we get a review stage. You can also add in a change. Let's see, it's a drawing checker, or basically just kind of a check stage there, so that maybe it goes to before it goes to your engineering manager, you want somebody to kind of have another set of eyes on the drawings, make sure everything looks good. And then the approver stage is really just kind of putting it into effect. Once the change has been approved, you're saying, okay, now it's in production. As soon as they hit go on it, it's it gets released to everybody, or now it's going down the assembly line. Okay, so this workflow is kind of set in stone, except for, like I mentioned, that drawing checker. If you do want to make changes, there are kind of ways to kind of bypass steps, just by kind of giving people access to kind of approve it, or maybe move it past the change administrator stage, or you just hit go on it twice basically. But let's kind of take a look at I guess some of the other functions within this. And as it goes through each of these stages, I mentioned it, there's an automatic email that the person's going to get, so they'll get notified, okay, I now have a task to go in and review a change, or to modify the parts, or to approve it at the end. So it's all kind of set up to be hopefully paperless is the idea there. All right, so let's just kind of go ahead and process one of these. I'm going to say release for my change title, release new for leg lifter. It's probably arm, I guess, is I think the term they use. Maybe I'll use for arm lifter. And then in the description, customer requested more robust to spread out the weight. Okay, so that's our what we think we wanted to do there. So we hit save. Now it kind of stores that, and it gives it an an ECO number. You can see that just kind of pulls it from the top of the list. We could add some files here in this case, if we want to, files or records. So they would show up here if we had ones that we wanted to, say, modify if we're making a change to an existing design. This is a brand new design, so at this point I just want to get the approval from the change administrator before I start doing it. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit submit. I can put in some comments here, add to the email. Right now this is my demo machine, so I don't have it sending to any other any other users, but I could add, please review and approve ECO. So I hit OK. Now it goes into the next stage, and if I can look at it here, and I am logged in as administrator. There's my top. It's at open stage right now. If I go look at it, now it's at the open stage. I should have mentioned too, we can there can be multiple routings on this. So if I want to change the routing to maybe go to Bob versus Bill, or whoever it needs to go to for approval, you can have multiple routings here. Okay. You can also add comments kind of as it goes along, and it stores, as you submit it to the next stage, it stores all those kind of stages that were developed, or that it went through. So right now it's at the open stage. The change requester has to approve and move that on. So I'm going to just go ahead and hit submit, and we'll say, okay, yep, I agree, looks good. So we submit that, and now it's to the work stage. So this is really where the responsible engineer would kind of start doing their work. It's always nice to have to start attaching the files to that. So obviously with these, if I go out to, say, that spider mount here and start grabbing, actually we're going to create a copy design of this to start our new design, and then we're going to add those to the ECO for approval. So I get notified as the responsible engineer to start that. I'm going to take my my existing design here with the 3 legs. We're just going to go down and do a copy design. Oh, maybe I've got a small issue here. I just went through this process here, but all right, let me try a different. I think what I did, I created a copy design of the previous one, and now it's still kind of processing in the background. So let me see if I do just grab a different design here and see if it'll let me copy design that one. I apologize for that. I think something's running in the background, which is interesting. Of course, that's got to happen during a webinar, I suppose. So let me just close out of this and see if I can refresh that. Get logged back in. Okay, so there's my login screen, which so obviously it authenticates. You can use Windows authentication too with Vault Pro, which is handy. We'll see if we still get that same error. We may have to just move forward with. Let's see here. I was in projects. Lifter. Copy design. Okay, there we go. So yeah, sorry for the delay there, but now what we're doing is copying this entire design, and like I said, so this copy design can be real handy. I can do, so obviously Inventor has a save a copy. That's sort of similar to this, but you really have got a lot of other options now to copy to another folder. We can just copy to the same folder. We can exclude files. We can reuse files, or we can also add other assemblies to the list. If I go out here and hit Add, I can go find and do copy design on 3-4 different assemblies at the same time, which you really can't do within Inventor. So this is going to be a big time saver, I think, and just makes things a little bit more seamless. So I'm actually going to take this entire thing. Obviously, some of these parts maybe I can reuse, but just for the sake, maybe it's a conceptual thing. I don't want to necessarily link some of these other parts to my new design yet. So I'm just going to grab the entire list here, grab the piece parts underneath here too, and let's just go ahead and right click on that. We'll do it just a copy too. I'm going to create another folder for this too. So here's my projects. There's my spider lifter arm 3. I'm going to create a new folder. Let's go spider lifter arm 4. I guess, yeah, okay, good enough. So we'll start that one, and I'm going to hit OK. Now it's going to place all those new files that I'm creating, and by default it puts just copy of in front of there. So let's say I want to put maybe just an underscore. Oh, I don't know, like some of these have a 3 in it already. We might want to put a 4 in there. Just for the sake of ease, I'm going to right click in here. I'll do a find and replace. Instead of copy of, I don't really like that. Let's just start at EDM, and then we'll put an underscore, and then we'll just replace all those. So they start with, EDM, and there's a few other things you can do here as far as, seeing what folder they're going to go into. There's a spider lifter arm 4. You could add a part numbering scheme if you'd like. If you've got a maybe it starts a sequential numbering scheme can be used here too. So hit OK on that. It's going to go through and make a copy of each of these and put them in the new folder, and then we're basically off and running with our new design. Okay, so it looks like it's done. Hit OK. Now we've got our new spider lifter arm 4, and we've got everything ready to go. So obviously, I didn't use some of the other functions. Like, obviously, if there was maybe a larger, like this ball joint here, maybe we're going to go with step it up a little bit larger for the four-armed lifter. We could have done a replace on that, and as long as the parts are similar in shape and features, it typically in the assembly, might even reconnect all those mates, or be a lot less work anyway to fix some of those mates once you open up the assembly. All right. So now that we've got our new, let's say we're moving closer to the to finishing this, what we can do is add that. Let's go add a change order to existing, and do a search on ECO. Let's see, the one I just created here is release new lifter arm 4. Hit OK, and now those have all been added to the ECO. So, and you can see there's a change order option or tab down the bottom, so we can see the files that have been added to that. And now if we go back out to the change order itself, like if I right click here and go edit, or you can go view, now I'd see these are the records here that have been added. And the nice thing is now this can be kind of just a carrier for all those files. You don't have to go search for them. You can just go to the ECO. We can right click on here, do a get checkout, change the state to released eventually, once they're ready to go. So obviously there'd be some work to do to kind of modify those files and get them ready. All right, and we can still, this is still just at the work phase. So now the the designer, and the nice thing too is as you go through and review these, maybe once the designer is complete with them, the the engineering manager can just come in here too and take a look and look at the DWFs, mark it up, maybe send it back if they need to, you know, say, hey, we want to do this just a little bit differently. They can look at the DWS right from the ECO. So that can be kind of a nice way to kind of keep everything contained. All right, I know we're getting kind of close to the end of time here. One thing I did want to show is the bill of material management. And then, so if I want to create a bill of material item for these, we just right-click, go Assign Update Item. I'll just take kind of one of the sub-assemblies underneath here for starters. Go Assign Update. And so what it's doing, it's generating. Cannot insert. Oh, I wonder if I don't have. Let's try. And cannot be assigned. So insert an item into itself or into its children. So how about this guy here? Let's just go with the piece part. There we go. So created an item for this, and if I would have went with the entire assembly, I think that would have, you know, you can do kind of an automatic create items for a lot of the piece, you know, the assembly and all the piece parts at once. But so this generated an item, and this is just kind of a little bit different view. We've got the general, the history, the bill of materials, and we can look at the where used. And obviously this is just one item now, but let me just show one other kind of advantage here on the item side. So I'm going to save that. And now if I close that and look back over here, now we've got a little icon over on the right. That means that there's been an item associated with that. So if I control and click on that, it takes me into the item list, and we'll have that one selected. So, and there's some rules you can set up on which properties get sent over, how the name and the title work out in the property side. But if I look at, you know, just one other thing I want to show on the item side here, let's go up and open this up. So again, we're looking at, you know, the associated files here. If I do an edit on this, again, you can do view. You can look at the view. Right now, I don't think I've got a, you know, okay, there's the DWF order, the thumbnail. Change orders if there's any associated, because items can kind of go through the change order process just like files can. Bill of materials, we'd be able to see the where used if we had brought with the other assembly items. But one of the things I wanted to show is that an item can be kind of a central place to store any kind of documents that you know, control the design of your file. So it's not always just necessarily the inventor file that you're looking at. You might be looking at an Excel file for that. So at this point, I can add an attachment here, and maybe attach, like say for instance, an Excel file. So let's just go out to Excel. I'm already logged in here. Let's say we want to save this. Let's just maybe call these. Let's see if this will. Where am I? Still logged in, right? Okay. So if I go new document, let's do a blank page. I'll just call FEA, you know, results or something like that. You know, something that you might want to just store with the file. Oops. So let's save that. And we want to store it in the folder where we want to check it in from. You wouldn't necessarily have to, because within Vault you could just add that file, but I want to put it in here where my working directory is. Designs, Project 2016, Spider Lifter Arm. Actually, we want to put that in probably Spider Lifter Arm 4. So I'll just store it right here for now, and then we can move it once it's in Vault. So FEA results, let's say Lifter 4. Okay, so we save that there. Let's do a check-in. It's going to put it in that same spot. We'll just hit OK to get that into Vault. Now once the file's in Vault, then that's where I was talking, we can add that file from here. So I'm currently in the edit mode. If I right click, do an add attachment, go out and I could do a search for that here too. Just go FEA. There's our FEA results. Hit OK on that. OK there. And now we've added that as an attachment to my item. We'll save that. And then it just kind of carries along with that file, and it's just easy to go back to the item and see what all is associated with it. You know, if there's other maybe a supplier file or something like that, maybe there's a IGES file that you use, and you want to just kind of keep everything together. You know, store the properties here. We can actually have different properties over on the right and update them for the item. There's actually, apologize there. There's a way to write back properties as well. If you update them in your item, you can have the properties written back to the files. So items can be, let's go exit edit mode there, can be fairly useful in managing your BOMs. And then I'll just show one more thing here on the item side. Once you have that, you can go to File, Export Items, and go through and export it to a couple different file types. And this is kind of where the integration to your ERP system comes in. So just go to my desktop here, grab that export, override it, next. And we can choose which properties we need to bring into our ERP system, and then just hit export there. And then there's the, or it kind of gives you a little preview of that, but if we hit finish, now that file on my desktop, that export file is what we can import into, so brought in whatever the specific pieces of information, specific properties that I need to bring in. Obviously I didn't really add a whole lot there, but there's all kinds of information stored with that file. Bring it into your ERP system, and there's no data duplication. You're not re-entering stuff. Obviously that's where mistakes can happen, and it does take obviously a lot of time. All right, last thing we'll take a look at here. I know it's 11:31. I'll take a look at questions here shortly. I do just want to show the thin client. So again, this doesn't take a license. It's for anybody within your company to get access to, and it's a real simple. So Internet Explorer, use Chrome, whichever web browser you want. I'm using Internet Explorer here, so I'm just going to go local. Oops. So the URL is just going to be your http:// We'll go localhost is the name of my server because I've got it just on this machine, but it would just be the name of your server and then Autodesk TC, and that'll take you to the login screen. So obviously you have to be within your network. You enter in your credentials here. It still requires authentication to be able to get in, but when we sign in, it's just a window right into the Vault. So we can go to this Project Explorer or the Item Master. There's search capabilities out here, so the shop can go, instead of calling up the engineer, they can go find it themselves, whatever they're looking for. Let's just get into one of these just to kind of show some of the other options. We'll take a look at the spider lifter 3. So we can change the columns of information that we're showing here. Let's just pick this lifter 3 here. You can see the thumbnail. We can see the children underneath it. So get a nice view of the bill of materials underneath the file. If there's any parents associated with that, in this case there's not. Then all the properties in the bottom left are with that. And then also, if I want to take a look at this, I can either download it and look at the DWF as the visualization file in Designer View, or just use the preview here to look at it in the online version of Designer View, basically. And they're really similar. There's just a couple differences as far as what you can, email it or some of the printing options, I believe. But you still have the markup options for checking lengths, adding a note to it. If I want to, send something back to my designer and say, is this the right part? Something like that, and then send that back. On the tool side here, we can move files, like to create some assembly instructions maybe. Start moving these around, rotate as needed, and then you can also do cross sections. If I grab a cross section here and kind of do a fly through the model to see what it looks like, at certain points throughout, to check for interferences, or again, create instructions with that. So this is something that it's an easy tool to use, and anybody in your company can get to this data, without any extra licensing or cost there through that. So, okay, note of that. I think, the last thing, okay, so we looked at changes, BOMs, searching, copy design. I will just kind of show, I'm going to open up the Data Management Server Console. That's the server portion of Vault. So this is obviously more your IT side, your administrator side, but just to kind of show where to set up that scheduled backup, again, which is important. Or if you just want to, if you're going to do an upgrade, or if you're going to do, move from Vault Basic to Vault Professional, definitely anytime you mess with it, you want to create a backup first. So let's let that fire up here. taking a second to get logged in. Okay, and you can see some nice statistics too of your vault, like the files, the number of, the database size. Speaking of database size, if you're using the Express version of SQL, just know that the max database size is 10 gig. Once you get up to that level, you're going to have to think about moving to Vault Professional, or sorry, not Vault Pro, but a standard version of SQL anyway. So definitely keep an eye on that. If your IT people aren't aware of that, it's certainly something to look at. We've had customers too before all of a sudden Vault's locked up because SQL maxed out the database limit for the free version. That's just another little tip there to keep an eye on. But what I was going to show is you go into Tools, Scheduled Backup. If you just want to create a backup, you can just, you can do that anytime. It will lock the vault temporarily, so I wouldn't do it during the day when people are still using it. But the scheduled backup, you can set that up whenever. So we, set up our backup location. We'll just go to the C drive, and then your backup log file. Down here in the bottom, then you can schedule a full or incremental. If you have the space, space is getting cheaper all the time. So I almost kind of encourage doing a full backup each night, especially if you've got a team that they're constantly putting stuff in. If you're concerned about it, you can do maybe a full, a couple times during the week, and then do incrementals on the other days. And then once you hit OK on that, it just creates a batch file, puts it into the Windows Task Scheduler, and that should then run whenever you tell it to. In this case, the default is running it at 11 o'clock at night. So definitely important. Check that out. Make sure you've got a Vault backup. If you're already using Vault, make sure they're getting created. Obviously, over time, they get to be, a lot of space, so you can delete, maybe a couple weeks or older, or maybe you want to, whatever kind of process you're comfortable with. Deleting the old backups is fine as long as you're, definitely verifying that the current backups are legit. So, all right, with that, I'll kind of move back over to the slides here. There's my information. If you want to get a hold of me or have any questions, if you'd like to have a more specific demonstration just for your needs or for your company, let me know. I'll try to take a look at and see if any questions came through here. And at this point, I'm not seeing any questions, so I'll go ahead and say, I guess, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate your interest in Vault, and if you have any other questions for me, again, my email address is there. Feel free to contact us at Applied Engineering. Check out our website. We've got a lot of classes coming up on Inventor, AutoCAD, Vault. We teach a lot of advanced classes for those AutoCAD Electrical as well. We actually developed an AutoCAD Electrical advanced class, which they're kind of hard to find out there. So hopefully you'll find those beneficial. And again, they're on our website. So thanks, and have a good day.